Today I fucked up by teaching a grizzled veteran what a twink is. Last night, I was out to dinner at a local veterans hall. We have people of all ages who visit, from the World War II vets to those who are still serving. I sat at a table with a Vietnam vet and we started chatting. During the course of our conversation, the Vietnam vet was joking around about being drunk. He had only had one at this point, and sang a version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star that went like Starkle, Starkle, Little Twink. Started laughing and told him that some of those words probably had different meanings than he realized. He asked what I meant and I told him the word twink is slang used to describe a person. At this point, he whips out his phone and loudly inquires, "Siri, what's a twink?" I almost had wine up my nose. After directing him to the Urban Dictionary page, his eyes grew wide as he read the definition. I decided to try to find an image to show him, but quickly discovered that looking up the word twink in Google Images will just bring up porn scenes if you don't have your safe search on. I told him not to do an image search, but of course, he just had to after I warned him not to. His eyebrows knitted into a mixture of confusion and horror as he slowly lowered his phone to the table. He muttered, "I've been singing that song since 1965. Silently, he went up to the bar to get another drink and sat with a 1,000-yard stare for a good long while. This decorated veteran has witnessed the atrocities of war, but seeing young dudes doing some butt stuff was too much for him to handle. Too long didn't read, told a veteran that the word twink meant something in modern slang. He ended up looking at gay porn. I think I broke the man. Once was playing Cards Against Humanity with my family over a holiday visit. One of my younger cousins, 15 at the time, played the card pixelated Bukake. All the other cousins laughed and she won that round. Her mother was lost completely as to why we were all laughing so much. So without just asking she pulled out her phone and said, "I want in on this joke, I'm gonna Google that." We all got quiet while waiting for her reaction. She hit search, and then looked at her daughter and just full on shock asked, "How the hell do you know what that is?" My cousin just looked at her and replied, "I live on the internet, mom. It's a dark place." Luckily her mom is super funny and wasn't angry at all, but she drank a lot more after that. XD. I feel your pain. My mother bemoaned the fact that she couldn't find a satellite or terrestrial source of BBC television programs abroad. Dad asked me what to do. I told him to Google it. So, he told Mum to Google it. He started searching for ways to pick up BBC locally while traveling abroad. Things did not go as planned. So, no, learning is not good at any age. Edit, typo. Cards Against Humanity is the reason I had to explain glory holes to my mother. She didn't spare any second doing her research. When we play, if someone doesn't know what something means they have to look it up on Urban Dictionary themselves and then read the definition out loud to the party. I pictured the theme from MASH playing as he lowered the phone. Starkle starkle little twink take me drunk I'm home I think. My dad, a Vietnam vet, sings that around Martini number 4. In the Vietnam War, a twink was a sailor fresh in country. In their bright white uniforms they looked like Twinkies. Today I fucked up by shouting the N-word at the top of my lungs for my job and making all my neighbors think I'm racist. I live in a predominantly black apartment complex and am a blonde-haired, white-skinned, country man, removed, born and raised. I am most certainly not a racist, but after today I will never be able to convince my neighbors of it. I work for a company that captions phone calls for the deaf and hard of hearing. Our main clientele are elderly people who have lost their hearing. The government gives them a special phone with a screen that displays text. Whenever they make or receive a call, an agent like myself is automatically connected to it. We listen to the person speaking to our client and caption everything they say. The caveat is that we do this by verbally repeating every word that is said out loud. Our voice is then turned into text which appears on the client's phone. If you're wondering why the extra step of using our voice to create text instead of the personal actually on the phone talking, it's simple. We are trained to speak in a very specific manner that delivers accurate and easy text. If you tried to use speech to text on most people it'd turn out absolute garbage, because anything from an accent to talking speed can mess up captions and make them inaccurate and useless. All of this is fine and dandy, except there's a very clear rule at this job that you have to caption everything word for word. All the family fights, all the deep personal secrets, the phone sex, infidelity, dementia rambling, the far left/far right/far reaches of outer space political conversations, religious praying and chanting, and racist rants. We have to say every word of it and caption it just as accurately as the banking calls, pharmaceutical calls, 911 dispatches, and important family discussions. 2 years ago I did this job in an office with a few hundred cubicles. Everyone knew the job and it was common to hear someone in the cube next to you having to caption a sex call and your racist rant. The same is not true when my neighbors hear it through my thin apartment walls. And unfortunately for me, a new resident was parking the world's loudest U-Haul truck, making such a racket I was having to yell at the top of my lungs to get my computer to process my captions over the noise. Even more unfortunately, I was on a call captioning some of the most foul racist drivel I've ever heard in my life. So for the sake of my job and the excellent level of service I'm obligated to give my clients regardless of what pieces of human garbage they may be, I shouted those obscenities with violent effort. I really like my neighbors. It's taken a lot to be accepted by them. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If racists had a look, I probably fall really close in line with the stereotype. Buzzed head, big beard, pale nasty skin, piercings and tats all over. That's just the way I look. And it means I have to smile and put in a lot of effort for people to see past that. I was doing a great job until today, but after I got off work and took my dog for a walk around the complex, my neighbors looked at me in a very different way. I very much doubt I'll be invited to the next barbecue, which honestly is the worst because I've been working on a new pulled pork recipe all month to show everyone. Fuck racists. Edit. Thanks for the warm reception and all the advice. Smile, it's really appreciated. But please don't DM asking what company I work for. I'm not trying to get fired here, guys. Despite events like those mentioned in the post, I enjoy my job and the opportunity to help the deaf and hard of hearing. TLDR, I had to repeat extremely racist comments for a deaf person and lost the hard-earned trust and respect of my neighbors. I used to do traditional relay and our call center had the CapTel department in another wing of the building. It's intense on both sides. I'm impressed that you're allowed to do it from home because they were quite obsessed with client confidentiality at our center. Client confidentiality went out the fucking window when COVID hit. My mom worked at a call center for a bank. After about 3 months into the pandemic, she was literally working from home handling basically full banking info. I would put a note on my door stating that I work with the hard of hearing and apologize for anything you may have to say in the course of your job relaying another speaker's words. Dude, you gotta tell your neighbors what your job is. There is always one chatty neighbor you can count on to spread the word. Figure out who it is and sincerely, tearfully, tell them what's up. This is a super solvable problem. Talk to your immediate neighbors and give them the 1-minute version of this. Sorry if you ever hear or have heard me saying/yelling terrible things. I verbally transcribe messages of all kinds for a living. This was really interesting to read. I always thought there was just someone typing out what the other person was saying. Glad you enjoyed it. People speak much more quickly than it's possible to type. For typing everything out to work, you'd have to develop a shorthand like a court stenographer, which means programming it and then hiring people with a very niche skill who would need proper compensation for their skills. But with a little training, a normal person can listen to and repeat verbatim anything in the range of 300 to 400 words per minute. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone capable of typing at that speed. Today I fucked up by sending an accidental bomb threat to an airport. Before I start, this is my father's story. He passed away just over 2 months ago after his battle with cancer, and it is my favorite story of his that I love to tell. I know technically it needs to be our stories, but it's too good to be lost to the world. My father and I shared a hobby of building and flying radio-controlled planes. My dad became good friends with a man named Matt who shared this interest and would often catch a flight with him after work. Matt gave my father the nickname the Mitchell Bomber, as his favorite model to fly was a B-29 75 Mitchell, a bomber plane. My father was semi-retired and picked up a delivery job. He could work in the mornings delivering sandwiches to places. Those fancy £4.50 sandwiches they stock in places like airports. It was Matt's 70th birthday, so my dad decided to text Matt a birthday message along with an invitation to fly as usual at their flying field after my dad's shift. It read, "Happy birthday from the Mitchell bomber, 70 years today. See you on the runway later." Upon finishing his shift, my dad phoned Matt up asking if he was ready to catch a few flights. Matt explained that he received no such text but would take him up on the offer anyway. My father, in great confusion, asked me to check his sent folder on his basic mobile as he wasn't great with phones. Instead of Matt, he had sent this text to Mank. I asked him who Mank was and he replied, "Oh, that's the people at Manchester Airport that I ring to let my delivery in the morning." Upon discovering this is who he sent the message to and how it sounded ominous without context, he immediately picked up the old reliable house phone and phoned the airport up. The woman he talked to explained that they were looking for an explanation, and for the 5 or so hours they had been on a wild goose chase. Who was the Mitchell bomber? What terrorist event happened 70 years ago? What's happening later? My father did get his flight with Matt that day, albeit a little late after an interview with 2 police officers at our home to explain the context of the text and how it all happened. Too long didn't read. My dad sent a text with an ominous sounding message due to his nickname Mitchell Bomber to an airport that got police involved. This reminds me of my great-grandmother. She was visiting from out of state, and when we took her to the airport she was frustrated with the security people. She yelled, "Does it look like I have a bomb on me?" This was just a few years after 9/11, and we then spent the next 4 hours with security explaining that no, this grumpy old lady did not have any explosives. Imagine if the airport actually found a bomb someone else placed that day. Imagine the Mitchell bomber would have died in jail. This is a great story. I'm glad it worked out at the time so you can tell this story with a smile on your face. I'm also sorry for your loss. Sounds like your dad was a great guy. Thank you. I'm now curious how many searches there have been in the last few hours for Manchester Airport bomb threat, and whether Google's algorithms are flagging this sudden uptick to anyone. Oh God, I should have posted through proxy, like father like son. I started this story wondering how in the world a person would accidentally text a bomb threat to an airport. Now I know. Thanks for the read.